Hello everybody, welcome to the first tutorial of 2018 for LuckCatchers. It's been about 6 months since our last round of tutorials, and enough has changed in the game that warrants a new round of tutorials. So I'm going to go through well, not the entire game, but a very good portion of the game to teach you how to play, how to use your controls, and just general understanding of the game, because let's admit it, the game is kind of difficult to understand. If you are watching this video after having played for a little bit, you're probably a little confused, or maybe you just need some updates. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do. So let's just start from square one. We've started the game, we're in our character selection screen. Let's assume that you don't even have a character made yet and you need to make one. This is XB Walker, this is my main guy, but let's just pretend I'm making a new one. It cost me 10,000 gold, but that's okay. I'm okay in that. I needed to do it anyway. Now you've got two options. You've got the orcs, which this doesn't really say it very well, but their ships basically carry more cargo, but they're slower, and they're located in the southeast. Sorry, I had to think about that one. Southeast if you're an American player. Humans are northeast if you're an American player. If you're from Europe or Russia, you start in the center of the map in Citadel or Strongwald in the respective cities for those. But we're going to assume you're either an American or some other type of English speaker. Let's choose Orc. Personally, I think that Orc is a much easier race to start as, because your starter ships have very low maximum altitude, and the Orc lands tend to be lowlands, so there's a little bit more available to you as far as trading and moving around goes before you hit your flight ceiling. So we're going to create an Orc character. What should we call him? Let's call him... I don't know if we're allowed to use apostrophes, but we're going to make him XB Slave. Funny. It's allowed. That's awesome. All right, so XP Slave has been created. Here's all of his statistics. He's done nothing, gone nowhere, and killed nothing. He's useless. Whereas XP has done quite a bit, played way too many hours in this game. 41 hours on my secondary character. And anyway, so level 1. This right here is the game's recommendation system. If there is another player that plays the game, and by the way, here's a code. You're welcome to put this code into your game and give me free gold, but, you know, do what you got to do. You get some medallions for doing that. But you can invite other friends to play this game, and when they sign up using your code, the person above you whose code you've put in gets some gold kickback. You get even more gold kickback. It's like a pyramid scheme, you know, like the classic pyramid scheme where the guy on top makes the most, and as you work your way down, they make less and less. Pretty typical. If you're an American, you've experienced this before, but it is pretty cool for the game because you get free stuff. The person who signs up under you gets a bunch of medallions, which gives them instant skill training, and you get a little bit of gold every hour. So settings, pretty self-explanatory. Image, sound, game settings, and controls. I'm not going to explain those to you. Cloud quality doesn't actually work yet, so just leave it as is. I have a GTX 1080 Ti, so basically everything's maxed out for me. And sound, game settings, I have my sound extremely low. You'll see why. The game is kind of noisy. Nothing has changed here. You can change your crosshair color and your mouse sensitivity. Training tips I have turned off, but you can turn them on. They're probably kind of important for you, the new player. And then of course controls. There's actually a better control explanation within the game, so ignore that in the settings here. So let's go ahead and start on the slave. And by the way, the music that you hear in the background is classical music, because the last few tutorials I did, I was unable to get through the game without getting YouTube copyright claims filed on me and this and that, because I had some Celtic music playing or whatnot. It was super annoying. Anyway, okay, so here we are. And we're in our noob ship. This is actually new. You used to start in the settlement, but now you start kind of in the air away from your settlement. So let me explain all the controls to you and where everything is. Item number 1 is going to be your mini map here on the bottom left. This shows you what's going on around you to a radius of about 20 miles. You can see there's a little tiny number down here. It says 16. That means that that circle represents 16 miles out from where I am, which is this arrow icon right here. Bottom left of the mini-map, actually, let's start with the bottom right. Bottom right is your markers. You can turn that off, and it will turn off markers of things on the ground. That's useful if you don't want a lot of clutter in your 3D client. If you just want to see all the beautiful terrain and you don't want to see a bunch of player dropped items. I'll give you an example of what a player item looks like here. Oh, I can't seem to extract from the ground. Okay. Well, never mind. I'll show you later. Okay, so back up. Here we go. And next thing is going to be your world map. You click on that. It brings up the world map. It's a very large open world that you can travel anywhere on. If you're not a pirate, I would not recommend going to this area right here, the Isle of Reconciliation. That is Pirate Island. You will get killed. So just don't bother. Even if you're an experienced player, they tend to not hang out in that area. It's pirates are not easy to kill. So your icon is this little flag. That flag represents where you currently are. As you can see, we're right near Nargval, which is the capital city for the orcs. And there's Shelter, Ashtar, and so on. Here's the human capital of Baragor. You can click anywhere on the map and set a waypoint. And on your mini-map over here, you'll see there's an arrow pointing in the direction that the waypoint is that you set. Right-click removes the waypoint. Now we move up here. This is zoom out and zoom in on the mini-map. As we zoom in, you'll see this number changes to 8. So now we're zoomed into a radius of 8 miles, with a couple miles around, so about 10 miles. Zoom in even more, we see more details. All these little T's represent settlements. White T's represent NPC settlements. Blue T's represent player settlements. Not all player settlements will show up on your map, only ones that have stores installed. So you can have a settlement and keep it hidden if you'd like. Now we can zoom in even more. You can see little black icons on the map. These are actually loot boxes. So let's see if I can fly to a little loot box and show you. Oh, see, there it is right there on the ground. Probably dragon loot. We click it. Definitely dragon loot, just dragon parts. So I can drop down. My sliders on the left here indicate my altitude. Blue is the area that I'm allowed to operate in. If it's red, my balloon will start taking damage because it's higher than it's supposed to be. It's above its flight ceiling. Then on the right here is my speed sliders. So if I pull it back, I go backwards. See, there I go backing up. Oh, look at my ship is shooting at a dragon. That's going to be another tutorial, dragon hunting. For now, yeah, I've got enough ammo to do it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go pick this little guy up here. Let's see, where is that icon? Lift. Lift means grab or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to go pick up this little dragon loot item. There we go. Receive raw dragon blood 2. Now my ship is still shooting at that dragon. Doing a horrible job of it. So we're just going to ignore that dragon because that's another tutorial for another day. Alright, so now I'm going to explain the other controls to you while I make my way back to the capital. And these ships, by the way, they fly like naval ships. See how it kind of slides around and it's not very pinpoint accurate? That's because it's like a naval ship. If I zoom in on it, it is a ship. It is a large wooden ship, so it flies as such. And that was lag right there that you saw. Okay, so I'm on my way to the capital. There's a hill in the way, so I'm increasing elevation, altitude, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to continue explaining the other controls. Top left is your portrait. Your portrait is the same as everyone else's portrait of your race, unless you buy a custom portrait, which costs 500,000 gold, which is upwards of, you know, probably 60 or 70 bucks. So most people don't do that. Other people who earn enough money in game just exchange the money for the premium currency and buy their stuff that way. I'll explain that later, and you can judge for yourselves. Okay, on the top left here as well is your reputation in both the Empire and in the Union, which is the Orc lands. In this case, we're orcs, so we're going to be earning reputation for the orcs as we do contracts. This is your mana, 100 out of 100. The maximum mana in the game, I think, is 1,500. Yeah, 15 levels. So it'll actually be 1,600 because we've already got 100. Again, I'll explain that a little bit more later. But as you saw, this is the skill tree. Skills cost silver, which you have to earn in-game. I'll be showing you that shortly here. And some skills require books as well to learn. Books are like, if you've ever played EVE Online, it's a similar design where you just buy the skill book and it unlocks the skill, and then you learn it over time. All skill training is time related. It's not skill based where, you know, shoot X amount of enemies and now you get this free skill. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, for those of you who like that kind of system. So I am heading towards the capital right now. If I click on any one of these T's, these little landing icons, it'll show you the name of the city. So that's Steel Nargval. It's 3 miles away. This is the region it's located in. If I click on this other one, Starlit Nargval, this other one up here is Dark Nargval. So we're going to head to Steel. I just happen to know that's where, that's kind of the capital of the capital. And we're going to land there. To land, I just go down here. There's the land button. And I click on it. You'll notice it lights up as I mouse over. Click on Steel Nargval, and I'm going to land there. The other buttons available to you, I'll explain in a moment. Let's keep going. So here is your information panel. See what I mean about a lot more detail in game. Ship information, Strex, which is their word for fighter, settlements, and of course tips. There's lots of tips. The English is not so great, so you'll have to forgive them. They're all Russians. All right, next thing is tasks of the day. This is a major improvement over 6 months ago. So tasks of the day, these change daily. You can do them every day, and they're generally based on your level. So all these tasks are somewhat within your realm of possibility, what you can do. Like if I log on to XP, who's level 28, which is almost max level, max being 30, it'll be like extract 8 million food or some ridiculous number. But since you're a noob, your tasks will be fairly fair. They won't be ridiculous. So now we're going to go to achievements. These will be your main moneymaker early in the game. You make a fortune for a noob by doing these achievements. This is a really good way to get started. So you've got deliver cargo, which is going to be my first tutorial aside from the controls. You've got digger, which is mining. Mining is not profitable at all, but it is profitable in the sense that you can get achievements for it. Killing dragons, pretty easy stuff to do. Hunter, using those parts that you collect to make things. Well, I'll show you that later. Shipbuilder, you actually get the starting resources for your ship. Let's see here. In your capital, let's see, where's mine at? Okay, well, I haven't gotten starting resources for whatever reason, but as a new player, I believe you do get them in the flight center, and then you can then use those resources to build a ship, and you get all the resources provided to you by the game. So we're gonna skip that step. It's not really important for what we're doing anyway. Now, next is your ratings. If you want to see, you know, all-time best people at every single thing, like Risk, he's the best at extracting stuff. This guy, production, and so on. All Russian guys, except for this dude I know happens to be Italian. And that's that. This is the day. There is 1 month per in-game year. So this 48 year means it's the 48th year of the game. 48th month since they've reset the calendar. This is your compass. As I turn it, you'll see the compass is moving. This little moon icon indicates that night is approaching because, remember, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. Well, the moon does the same thing. Moon comes up in the east, sets in the west. So we move over here. Now we're at contracts. I'm going to show you this in the next tutorial in just a wee bit. This is super easy contracts where we can move from the capital to a nearby city and make a little bit of money. Next is the market. That's an entire tutorial unto itself. The market is very big and complicated and takes a little bit of understanding. Then we've got your relationships. We don't have any friends because I just made this character. We've got chat. You'll notice there's a lot of chat that happens. Most of it is NPCs. The way to tell if it's an NPC is if the English is either very poor or uses all lowercase. They tend to be NPC chat. There are different tabs for different languages. Although there is an English tab, most of us just use the all tab because that's the one that pops up. Next is guild. We don't have a guild, so we can't do anything there. And that costs 100,000 silver to make one, so for now we're going to skip that. And then your email tab, you can write an email to somebody, receive it, because the in-game chat is not universal. It does not reach across the whole map. It uses a more classical radio-style map system where the higher up I am, the further my communication can reach, because the curvature of the planet means that, you know, there's less impeding the signal. It's just kind of cool. It's kind of cool the way they did it. I actually like it, but some people hate it. Some people want universal chat. I personally am okay with this. So yeah, chat is distance related, whereas email goes anywhere and everywhere. Next is your property tab. This shows everything you own. You can either look at it by category, you know, what do I own under trophies? Well, I own some Dragon Blood. Remember, we picked that up. Licenses, a rename license, and a forgiveness scroll in case I accidentally shoot a player because I'm new and I didn't know better. You can do that and it'll fix your reputation. Defense crystal, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but usually what I use is location. This tells you where all your stuff is. Currently, the only thing we own is in Steel Nargval, where we just landed. There's our ship, and here's all the stuff in its hold. So now, that's all that. Next is the part that you will all cringe at, because this is a free-to-play game. They have to make money somehow, and they make it by selling their premium currency. There are rumors that they may change this to a just purchase game where you just buy the game for however many dollars and there's only one currency and that's it. But for now, you're just going to have to deal with this. I have proven, in fact, I spent the last few weeks proving that it is possible to make it to the end game without ever paying money. It requires a significant amount of time, but it is possible. I mean, we're talking like 30 to 40 hours if you want to get to millions and millions of silver. But it is doable, so just know that. Here is Alice, your assistant. Personal opinion here, she's kind of useless because the English translation's really bad, and she just tells you things you can do for different careers, but that's it. You still have to figure it out on your own. That's the thing about this game. It's very much like Eve was in its early days, where there's a lot there, but there's not a lot to explain how to get to it. You kind of have to learn as you go. These tutorial videos are my effort to try to make it a little bit easier on you, make it easier for you to understand how to do things. Okay, so that's all of that. That's all the general controls. The only other control is ship control, which I'll show you right now, and then we're going to end this tutorial, and we're going to move on to our first bit of money making. So, simple tutorial here. If you're looking at a settlement, because we've landed now, there's different buildings. There is your flight center, which is sort of the warehouse for everything. It holds all of the items that you've dumped into it. There are stores where you can buy and sell things. If you want to purchase things, it's easier to just use the market tab, but to sell ships, for instance, you need to go through here. Make a lot for sale. We could put our ship up for sale. We don't want to do that because then we'll be stranded. There are the alchemic shops where you can convert IMA, which is their word for crude oil, into imanite, imanol, imanol ether, each of these fuels being more and more efficient and hotter burning and thus making your ship faster. Balloons don't use fuel because they don't need it, and you'll see that in a second. Next is going to be your foundry shop. You can convert any sort of iron, like iron ore and phlogiston, which is their word for coal, into iron bars. Then you could convert that to iron sheets. You can also convert mithrite, which is, think of it like you know, Lord of the Rings mithril armor, how it's like this incredibly powerful metal. It's kind of like that. It's super light, super powerful. It's like titanium, really, if you think of it. And then you've got warehouse, research and development where you can actually design strikes. This is actually a pretty fun part of the game that I hope they give more attention to. You can custom design these Strecklets, or fighters if you will. You can make them different wing areas, angles of the wing, size of the aileron, the rudder. It's very intuitive, very interesting actually, but they haven't given it much attention since the game came out. It's one of my favorite parts of the game though, is designing strikes, because I mean, you're basically designing a fighter and seeing what you can do with it. We'll get to that tutorial later. Next is going to be our arsenal, where we can create basic ammo. Basic ammo takes quite a few ingredients, but thankfully something they've improved in the past 6 months of the game is everything can be crafted from the capital city. It used to be that you had to buy a settlement, which costed premium money, basically locked new players and free-to-play players out of half of the game. There was no way you could get there without actually paying real money. Well, they've changed that. Now you can do this stuff from the capital. It's not particularly efficient because you only have one of each of these buildings, but heck, it's free, right? I mean, you don't actually expect to play a free game and get everything that pay players get, right? So, you know, that's just me. And then from the docking port, you can make ships, just the basic ships, brawler, tractor, and boar. Brawler is the level 1 ship. You're going to get the resources to build that from the game. Tractor is the level 2 ship. It can carry 380,000, which is quite a bit. And it's good for mining, good for long-range transport. Very slow, though. And then the boar, which is your first step into PvE and PvP. Anything that looks like an old sailing ship is a wooden ship. It's a good bet that it's probably going to be pretty good at combat. And you'll see that in coming tutorials. So, only other thing to show you is just how to fly around real quick, which you've already seen a bit. So, all I have to do is click on my docking port. If you're human, it looks like a helicopter landing pad for some reason. It's circular and has an H on it. But you just click on that. Then in the hangar here, you're going to see your ship. Click on that. There it is. Now, we're just going to fly out. The other option is we can remote control the ship. Like, I can hit this button, it will undock, and I can control it from here, but I'll stay in the settlement. Since this is our only ship, we don't need to do that. So we're going to fly out in our ship. And there we are, just kind of floating around. Now, you'll see there's a timer. This is also similar to Eve in the sense that there's an undock timer. You can't just go right back in and play docking games with someone who's attacking you. We have about 2 minutes after we undock. So let's try some basic flight controls. W is forward, or you can drag the thruster all the way up quicker. S, you see the thrust is going backwards now. A, it's left, and D is right, just like in any FPS you've ever played or driving game or anything. So if I hold A, here I am doing some drifting in the sky. A little bit of sky drifting here. And if I hit D, of course, I go right. Zipping around, all right? And you'll notice that the buildings are not super graphically beautiful. I mean, I'm playing it on max graphics, and this looks like something out of, 10 years ago. The reason being is this game is meant to be played from the sky. There's nothing you're going to do on the ground aside from land. So the higher up you go, the more incredible this game looks. From 4,000 yards or 4 miles, they don't really explain which one it is. It's just a gorgeous game, absolutely beautiful. So try not to judge it based on the ground graphics. They're not meant to be impressive, although the development team has stated that they're currently working on graphical improvements to update it with the current times. First of them actually being the noob ship has decals on it and looks much cooler. It used to be much uglier. You can look at my older tutorials and see what I'm talking about. Now the other controls are all just point and click. We can lift to pick up cargo. We can stop by hitting U or just hitting stop, of course. Here's increase and decrease altitude by 100 yards. This is the exploration tab, which I'll explain in the mining tutorial. This is the auto attack button, which we can't do because we're floating above the city. You see this little icon here? It says safety zone. If it's green, it's a do not fire zone. Do not try to fire. And the vessel info, H, I think it should be I, but what do I know? If you hit H, there it is. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 machine guns, 110s, 300, meaning it's a 110 caliber, 1/10 of a pound, and it shoots 300 shots a minute. This is the cheapest of the 110 guns. It's basically your newbie guns, but they're actually not bad. They're pretty powerful. And then, of course, it uses standard 110 charge, C1/10. That's just what comes with your ship. This right here is your demon. Think of it as your engine for your balloon. Oh, nice. Perfect timing for the end of the tutorial. I just lost connection. But that's okay, because we're actually done with this tutorial, and I guess the game just wanted to tell me to shut up. So we'll see you in tutorial number 2.